Happy Saturday. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Pat Cavlin here with a look at your tropical update. We do this every night at 8 p.m. Here during the peak of hurricane season, just to keep you in the loop on what's going on. Yet again, we got a pretty quiet evening coming up in the tropics. So let's take a look at what we're tracking for you. Two areas. One is still Tropical Storm Gabrielle. That is expected to become a hurricane sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. And then behind that, just off the west coast of Africa, on the far eastern Atlantic, we've got a wave that may try to develop once it gets into this area, but right now odds are still pretty low. So the first thing that we'll take a look at here is the latest on Gabrielle. Winds at 65 miles per hour. It's moving to the northwest at 10 miles per hour, so it is tracking towards Bermuda. As we get into tomorrow and Monday, that northwesterly track will turn more northward and then eventually more northeastward, away from land altogether. But the Hurricane Center does have this intensifying by the time we get to Monday afternoon, potentially to Category 2 strength as it passes just to the east of Bermuda, that little dot on the map there. And again, just shooting out to the east across the Atlantic, away from the United States and away from Bermuda. The wave that's trailing behind Gabrielle off the west coast of Africa, again, it's now over open water. We don't expect development at all within the next 2 to 5 days, just because it's wrapped up in so much Saharan dust right now. So that's really keeping a lid on any potential organization or development. However, as we go through the weekend and into the start of the upcoming week, we're going to start to see that wave kind of shed some of that higher dust concentration and leave it behind across the eastern Atlantic. So at that point, notice there is still dust that the system will have to contend with as we get into the middle of the week. And because that, I just think that it's going to have a hard time doing anything. But again, if it were to try and develop, it would be somewhere in this general area here, just to the north of the Antilles. But like we're seeing with Gabrielle, the trend right now with anything that develops in the Atlantic is for it to take that kind of curve off towards the north and then eventually to the northeast and out to sea. So it looks like everything that is trying to form in the Atlantic right now is just not a threat to land, which is great news. But again, as we get into the upcoming week, we'll keep an eye on this to see if anything changes. But right now, there are no imminent threats to the United States, and there's nothing in the Gulf. Notice the Caribbean down here to the south, we don't have any systems brewing. Into the Gulf, things are quiet as well. So really a very tranquil peak to hurricane season for us so far this year, which is great news. The official peak of the season was 10 days ago on the 10th. We're still in the peak season pretty much from late August through mid-October is when you run the best bet of seeing systems develop. And especially as we get into the month of October, we'll have to keep a close eye on the Caribbean and the Gulf. Those become hotspots for potential development. And of course, whenever you have something that's forming that close to home, you got to pay attention a little more because your time to react is cut down because it's in your own backyard. But again, right now, nothing's out there. We'll stay on guard probably for the next month or so. And then once we get into November, things really start to trail off in terms of potential threats for us here in Southeast Texas. So that's the latest update for tonight. Again, not a whole lot going on, which is great news. No threats to the United States. We'll keep doing these updates here every night at 8 p.m. And of course, we'll have an update on your full forecast here in Houston coming up on the KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock.